On this episode of Between Sundays, we chat with Sawyer, our Upward Director and Head Custodian, about his walk with God.
All right, well, welcome to our Between Sundays podcast. My name is Angie Waldron, and I am our Communications Director. I have the privilege here to sit down with someone who's pretty pivotal at our church. A lot of the behind-the-scenes work goes into what Sawyer does. So Sawyer, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you do here at the church.
Yeah, so actually I'll start out, if I can, talking about how I started working here, because that leads into what I do now.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
So I started almost 13 years ago. It was in 2012, November 5th was my first day, and I was the custodial assistant and part-time. And how that came about was I had done cleaning work since my whole life at home. But since the time I was 15, I went into a cleaning business. I was helping somebody who owned a cleaning business, and I hated it. So when I graduated high school and was looking to get into full-time work, I was looking for jobs that weren't cleaning, and nothing was opening up, and I was praying to the Lord, bring me to a place where I can just do anything except clean.
Right.
and for months I prayed this. At the time, I was still a part of Mountaintop Youth Camp in North Carolina.
Okay.
And the sort of theme that I latched onto from the week that I went to in October of 2012 was to be content with the things that I have, and also to have a willingness to serve the Lord however He wants me to serve. Okay. That was a major theme, and so still wasn't fully on board, but I came home from that week. I was having my morning devotions one Monday morning, and it came up again. I read a passage of Scripture about godliness with contentment is great gain. And the reason I thought about that immediately, I thought about my prayer life and praying for something, for a job that wasn't cleaning. The reason that came to mind was because it had already been on my mind, but the passage, godliness with contentment. So God was calling me in the stage of life that I was cleaning part-time, to be content. Okay. Not just to be godly, even though there's argument to whether I was godly or not, but also to be content. And so I prayed again to the Lord. I said, "Okay, Lord, you got me." And I'm looking for full-time work. You know I am, and no matter what it is, I'll do it if it's what you have for me. So I finished the prayer. Not 30 seconds later, my mom comes in the room on the phone with Gary Bauer, our maintenance manager, wow. And he says, "We've been looking for somebody to do part-time cleaning for a long time, and
wow.
We're wondering if you had anybody there who would be willing to take that position." So I took that as the sign from the Lord, the obvious sign that He often is obvious with me because I need Him to be obvious.
Right.
So I came down, applied for the job, and less than a week later, I was working.
And you guys were going here to church, right? You and your family were going.
At that time, we were not.
Okay.
No, we had been up until about 2 years before that.
Okay.
But so yeah, I started part-time cleaning. 4 or 5 years later, the full-time custodian, the head custodian, left, and I was moved into his position, so full-time, and still cleaning. And my theme verse had become Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, which says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart, as working for the Lord and not for men." And so I just continued to not really like cleaning,
right,
but to do it as unto the Lord, and that actually helped me to enjoy what I was doing, and I've always enjoyed working here. at Rainbow Forest Baptist Church. So,
Yeah.
cut to several years later, 2 years ago, we started looking to outsource the cleaning, and John Richardson had mentioned me moving over sort of towards the admin team, the administrative assistant side of things, and so that gave me a doorway into more ministry, kind of frontline work, even though I've never really been at the front lines, but it's given me more of a glimpse of that, and through that, I had become an upward director. I became an administrator for our HERF ministry, which is home educators of Rainbow Forest, and so the Lord's just been moving in ways that I didn't know why He wanted me to work here.
Right.
But now in retrospect, I can see why he wanted me to clean for so long, was because He had something else at the end of the tunnel. So,
Well, it just sort of prepped you for like that mentality, like you were saying, that shift and I don't want to, to then okay, this is where God's called me and I'm going to do it with a happy heart.
Right. And actually a year before I was moved to administrative assistant, I wasn't making enough money here to do what we needed to do because my daughter Raina had a lot of medical needs and still does, but when she was born, she needed a lot more than she does now. And a lot of it required traveling, and some of it insurance wasn't going to cover, and so there was a need for more income on my side, and it led to me being more intentional in my prayer life about my employment. And okay, Lord, I've been here for a while. I started working here because You wanted me to work here, but now I'm asking, is there another place You want me to move to? And the reason for it was I had been getting job offers from different places, and so I started praying. Do You still want me to work at Rainbow? If You do, then I need You to be obvious about it.
Right.
Like
I need that obvious again.
So yeah, and He was. What I needed was, I think I calculated what I needed based on what Raina needed medically.
Okay.
Because we were living paycheck to paycheck and still really living on the edge, so I think it was $4,000 annually that I needed my income to be raised to.
Okay.
Which I had never gotten nearly that much in a raise.
Right.
While working here, but that the fiscal year was coming to an end, raises were about to be announced, and I got the announcement that my income would be raised to not $4,000 a year, not $5,000 a year, but $6,000 more per year. Yeah. So again, God just being obvious and showing me that He wants me to work here, and He's going to do the work to provide for what we needed and more than what we needed.
Right.
Well,
you talked a little bit about Raina. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so let me grab some water here because my mouth sticks together.
Should I do add a little effect there?
No, we're done. We're good. So Raina is my oldest daughter. I have 3 daughters, Raina, Vivian, and Mila.
Yeah. Sweet.
And Raina was born premature. She was born 6 weeks early. We were actually in the hospital for a week, and then she was born 6 weeks early.
Oh, okay.
And diagnosed immediately with what is called amniotic band syndrome, which I don't know if it's changed since then, but at that time it wasn't something that could be detected on ultrasounds. And so what was detected on the ultrasound was she had a cleft lip and palate,
Okay.
Which turned out to be a double cleft lip and palate. from the amniotic bands. And what amniotic band syndrome is when the inner layer of the amniotic sac ruptures early in pregnancy.
Okay.
And again, it's not detectable because when the whole amniotic sac ruptures, that's what we call the water breaking. And so that's obvious when that happens.
Right.
But when the inner layer ruptures and the outer layer does not, then there's no detection. And so the inner layer then becomes like cobweb formation and wraps around the baby. In many cases, the baby will die in the womb. And then in many cases where the baby survives, the baby has brain damage a lot of the time because the amniotic bands prevent the baby's development in the womb.
Right.
In different ways. With Raina, it prevented her left eye from developing at all. She had no left eye when she was born. Thankfully, she had a right. She had the double cleft lip and palate, pretty severe. Her fingers and toes had been wrapped. Some of her fingers are underdeveloped. On her right foot, she has no toes or no toenails. Her toes are little stubby things.
Yeah.
But so that going into that, not knowing it beforehand, that was a big journey in and of itself. And then she was in the NICU for 46 days, and then when we did get her home, it was appointments every day, one or more appointments every day for months.
And that's challenging to be new parents.
It was
a bit younger.
challenging. And it was 2019, right before before we were hit with the coronavirus pandemic. And when COVID did come in 2020, some of her doctors stopped communicating altogether.
Oh, wow.
And one of those doctors was her ocularist. And what an ocularist does is make artificial eyes.
Okay.
And so he had been working with her, our local ocularist had been working with her. And what she had at that time were conformers. And what conformers are, that's the work that's done with a baby that has no eye. That's to stretch out the eyelid.
Okay.
Because when a baby is being developed in the womb, the eyes are growing, so the eyelids are also growing and developing.
Okay.
So that when the eye doesn't develop, the eyelids they need some help. And so conformers, you put one in, and then 2 weeks later you take that out, put a bigger one in
to stretch
over time to stretch that out and get it ready for a prosthetic eye. And so that doctor, we tried to get in touch with him. All appointments were canceled. He wouldn't answer and never called back. And so for months, she was just losing progress.
Yeah.
And it was impossible to find somebody who would take her for a long time. Eventually, after 9 months of losing progress, we found somebody. And then switched to somebody else a few months after that.
Right.
Because her case was so particular, and a lot of kids don't have that problem of suddenly the doctors can't be reached.
Right.
At that time, people did, but
right.
So we found somebody who in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to work with her. We didn't know at that time how much it was going to cost, but we knew we were pretty convinced that was going to work, and that was what Raina needed, and it was.
Okay.
And during that time, while we were waiting to get the pricing back from that ocularist, we got a check in the mail from a dear old friend for $500.
Okay.
And what we did at that time, whenever we received a money gift from anybody, we would put it away, and we would pray about it and say, Lord, what is this money for? And so we did the same with this, $500. And a few days later, we hear back from the ocularist that the conformers are going to be $500 a month.
Oh, wow.
And so
Like, okay.
the Lord's shown that he provides in that way
Yes.
over and over again, whether it's with a car or some other financial need. He provides right before the need arises.
Right.
And so that's been a real blessing. And I don't know how I would be getting through life if I didn't have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
Through everything that we have been through, me and my family. But the Lord does provide, and every step of the way, my faith gets stronger and stronger to the point where now, when a financial need arises, I'm not worried a single iota, because I know that God provides, and he always has, and
Right.
There's no reason for me to worry, and that's not a judgment on anybody who does worry, because
Right.
because I've been there.
Right.
I know what it's like to have huge events in the future that I can't afford, and the Lord provides for it. So it's been proof time and time again that when God wants you to do something, even if it's work for a low wage at a job that you don't necessarily like doing, or do a podcast, that if the Lord is behind it, then you don't have anything to worry about, and the only thing that you have to look forward to is reward. So that's been my experience with my relationship with the Lord, and with my relationship with my oldest daughter.
Yeah. And it's just amazing to hear not only the financial piece, but even just providing the steps, providing the doctor, providing the pieces of the puzzle. And so what challenges do you see, like, moving forward with Raina, especially in her health?
The biggest challenges with Raina, there aren't any worries about brain development, or whether or not she's her sight is going to have a large effect on her ability to get through life. None of those worries exist any longer. I guess the biggest worry with her social life is, she meets new people. People aren't familiar with the way that Raina looks, because she's got one fully functional eye and one prosthetic eye, which is not it's not a perfect match. It's not super close right now either. So kids see her for the first time and they want to get close, and they're looking at her prosthetic, trying to figure it out. And that's not even the biggest worry. The biggest worry is, are kids going to learn what it is and then tease her about it?
Right.
And that's happened a little bit in school. But again, the Lord provides with protection.
Yes.
Her school teachers and staff at the school is just enthralled with Raina. She's got a great personality, much better than mine. And
I wasn't going to say it, but thanks for...
I mean, you could have. It's obvious. But yeah, the school staff is very protective of her. If somebody's teasing her about it, calling her eye gross or whatever, they say, no, we don't do that. And they learn very quickly that there are consequences for that kind of behavior. And so she hasn't had a whole lot of problems at school, just a few. But kids are going to be kids, and that's the worry.
And I think within our church, I mean, we can certainly pray and support your family and just offer those bits of encouragement as you go through things.
And a lot of you are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we kind of wrap up our time, it went a lot faster than I realized it would. But maybe just if there's any encouragement that you'd have. I mean, a lot of times with Christians, and we're thought to have the perfect life. thought to have everything easy. Obviously, with Raina and what you've kind of experienced, and even just figuring out as a young parent, what challenge, like where God can show up. Like, what advice would you give for someone who might be struggling with either being a parent and things aren't as easy as they wanted to, their walk with God isn't as easy? Any advice that you could give to someone in that position?
I'm not sure I'm the best one to give advice, but I think
I'll get Raina. Don't worry.
yeah, the advice that comes to mind is don't stay alone in your in the strife. You need to surround yourself with support, and it's easy to the temptation comes to think, well, nobody cares. Like I know people, but nobody's surrounding me with support. A lot of it does rely on you to surround yourself with support, and to let your needs be known. We live in a very independent, focused time,
Right.
and our country is very independent focused. You got to do things for yourself. That's not God's plan. God's plan for you is to be surrounded by companionship, and that's not just for people who are married. It's for
Right.
people who are married or unmarried.
Right.
To surround yourself with companionship, as iron sharpens iron. Other iron is needed.
Right.
You're not going. One piece of iron is not going to be sharpened by itself. It needs other iron to help it. So it's the same thing with us. We need to be not just surrounding ourselves on Sunday morning, but between Sundays
Right.
as well,
Right.
getting together. And do you like my little
I like nice plug
little
there. I
Easter
like
egg
it.
there? But getting together on a more regular basis than once a week, and sitting around each other. That's a lot of times that's what we do on Sunday morning is we sit around each other, but we don't get invested in one another's lives.
Right.
So that's a little plug for small group living,
yeah.
and also just inviting other members of the church to have dinner with you, and it's stuff like that, actions like that you take that will surround you with support, because
Absolutely.
that's your part, and then God will do His part.
That's right. And putting the right people in the right groups or the right whatever is needed. Those little pieces, as we kind of said. Well, that's great advice, and we appreciate you being on here, sharing a little bit about your family and the struggles you guys have faced, and definitely check out some small groups next between Sundays, even on discipleship, and we appreciate everybody being here. Take care.
See ya.